This next story, I think a lot of you have been waiting for. I know I've been kind of looking at the news all through this past season to see if we could see any rumblings about this. And there were a few, and we'll talk about that right now. What I'm talking about is kind of rumors of a new hockey league being established to challenge the sovereignty of the National Hockey League as hockey's one big major league. Now, we hadn't reported too much on this so far because it's all been in the rumor stages. Nothing from the mainstream media guys had really been put out in a credible form, and so we really didn't have anything from which we could give you a good report. Now, for years, there's been talk from the Western Hockey League that it wanted to attain major league status, and apparently the Loop came very close to conducting player raids on NHL teams back in the early 60s, and in fact, at that time, Bobby Hull's name was mentioned as a prime target to be signed by a team, probably the Los Angeles Blades, and he would be the first player robbed, you might say, from the National Hockey League. But nothing ever came of that, and the NHL's expansion in 1967 to the West Coast put the kibosh on the WHL's idea to become a major league, although right up until this point in time in 1971, they still harbored some secret desires to actually become a major league, but nobody in that league had the cash or the guts to really try and pull it off. Well, this week, for the very first time in the mainstream media, at least in credible journalistic sources, word came out that a new endeavor being called the World Hockey Association was being established, and it was the brainchild of a couple of guys who brought you the American Basketball Association. Just what hockey needed right now, a league put together by a bunch of hockey-ignorant yahoos to further delete the quality of play and raise player salaries, which you know is going to be passed on to the fans in the form of higher ticket prices. Here's the first story that we came across about this rival loop. Jerry Seltzer, the roller derby baron who made an unsuccessful attempt to purchase the Oakland Seals last year, said this week he's putting together a group to buy a Bay Area franchise in the newly proposed World Hockey Association. The National Hockey League awarded the financially barren Seals to Charles O. Finley a year ago instead of the Seltzer Combine, which included several National Football League owners. Later, the NHL asked Seltzer to bail out the ailing Pittsburgh Penguins, but the man who built roller skating into a multi-million concern said no to that proposition. Now, Seltzer is aiming to join the World Hockey Association, which right now is operating out of Miami and plans a 14-team professional league to begin play in 1972-73. They're going to get this thing up and running pretty darn quick by the sounds of it. The WHA is a brainchild of Gary Davidson, the first president of the American Basketball Association, and former Oakland Oaks executive Dennis Murphy. And they say it already has 5 franchise commitments in cities such as Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Honolulu, and Milwaukee, which has been considered a prime expansion site for the NHL. This infant organization is also dickering with Baltimore, Boston, Louisville, Greensboro, North Carolina, Columbus, Ohio, Hartford, Connecticut, Atlanta, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Quebec City, and cities in Indiana and New Jersey. The Seals, besides operating in Oakland, have minor league team agreements in Baltimore and Columbus, so we can see a conflict there already. This, by the way, is from the Oakland Tribune. The Tribune contacted Jerry Seltzer, and he had this to say: "If I can promote a July 4th roller derby attraction that draws 30,000 spectators 2 years in a row, I can make big league hockey succeed under local ownership in the Bay Area, and that's exactly what I'm going to do." Well, if this thing ever does get off the ground, we'll of course report on everything we can find on it. About the only good I could see out of this league, as it could raise the salaries of the players, and that's never a bad thing. But that's if the player rating does take place. The problem, as always, is that the NHL owners won't absorb any of the costs to keep the players, so that'll be passed on to the fans, of course. That is if the NHL owners treat this thing as something serious. NHL owners have known to be very short-sighted, and if these guys do have some good financial backing, they could pose quite a problem for the NHL guys.